The Philadelphia Eagles absolutely destroyed the Kansas City Chiefs and are now your Super Bowl champions. So what does this mean for the legacies of Saquon Barkley, of Jalen Hurts, and also what does this mean for Patrick Mahomes? I know Rob has a lot to say about this, but we're going to get into that and more here on The Gridiron. Welcome back to another episode of The Gridiron, brought to you by House Call Sports. I'm Justin. I'm here with our founder, Rob, and this is our Super Bowl recap episode. And if you know why we're excited, well, me, because I wanted to see the Chiefs lose, but Rob wanted to see an absolute disaster. But we're going to get into all that before. But we need to give a quick sponsor to our friends over at Vivid Seats. Vivid Seats, the most trustworthy and easy to navigate ticketing website around. They have reliable and rewarding tickets along with a 100% buyer guarantee, which means your transactions are going to be safe and secure. You get full service customer care and compensation for any canceled events, along with having the only ticket rewards program in the game. Now, I get it. Football season's officially over. We're all sad about this, but you know what? We got the NBA, we got NHL. Baseball is right around the corner. If you're a wrestling fan like me, Elimination Chamber is right around the corner. So do us a favor, go hit that link in our description, go to Vivid Seats, get your seats, and go sit vividly. Rob, I'm excited to talk about this. I know you got a lot to say, but before we get to the absolute disaster that is the Kansas City Chiefs, we need to give the props that is well-deserved to the Philadelphia Eagles. Nick Sirianni, for all of the bashing that we give this man as a head coach, to go from the disaster of losing the Super Bowl 2 years ago to what him and Howie Roseman were able to build in this championship team. Like, I know you said this off camera, but you said this could be the start of a legacy, right? I mean, of a dynasty.
I 100% think it could be the start of a dynasty. I mean, you could go down the roster. You got Jordan Davis they got in the first. Like, it's not even like that, the fact that they have studs on the roster. They draft better than anybody. They're also, Howie Roseman, this may be a little bit brash, but he may go down when it all comes said and done. Obviously, I'll put Bill Belichick at number one because, well, as of recently, he hasn't been drafting well, but Howie Roseman, at least in the last decade, has outdrafted just about every team, and you can go down the list. I mean, I'll just reference just one little thing real quick. In this past draft, where they traded with the Saints, the number 16th overall pick, the number 19th overall pick, and the number 194th overall pick, they got pick 18 and 101. They were able to get. And another second, they got Cooper DeJean and they got Quinyon Mitchell, who have been just flat out special. And you could go a couple drafts before that where they got Nolan Smith, I believe it is. Yep. And then Jalen Carter, who was regarded as the number one overall pick if he not had his off the field issues. He dropped to number 9. And then you go and look, I mean, Darius Slay still out there. The Zach Bond was a special teams player on the Saints. Like, the list goes on and on and on and on. You grab Saquon Barkley from the Giants. I know this one hurts you, but it's just a fact and a fact. And I know Mara is somewhere in a corner eating Haagen-Dazs ice cream, thinking about why did this happen and why did I let Joe Sheen, this idiot, do this. But and then you go and look at the offensive line. I believe they have a guy who's what the hell is his name? Mailata, I believe, was a 7th round pick, if I'm not mistaken. So, and they have the heaviest offensive line in all of football. I mean, you lost Jason Kelsey, Cam Jurgens, who Jason Kelsey basically picked. He picked with Howie Roseman to go get him, and it's like they haven't lost a beat. Like I said, man, they've been to 2 of the last, 5 Super Bowls and 4 in the last 20 years. And the only team that has more than them in the current NFL is the now Kansas City Chiefs. Look, Jalen Hurts outperformed him in the first Super Bowl. And the Chiefs are regarded as his biggest competition. I think, if anything, it's really just the AFC's chasing the Eagles right now. That's how it is. I think the Eagles are just so much further in front of everybody else. And I mean, Jalen Hurts has already basically mentioned he doesn't care about the money. I know he got paid, but the rest of this roster, if it ever gets to a point where somebody needs to get paid and they run out of money, I don't think they're going to have a problem, man. They got a quarterback that realistically should have won the last time they versed each other. I mean, he had an inopportune fumble and then a holding or whatever it was in the outfield against James Bradbury, where he basically tugged on Juju's jersey a little bit. They could be a 2-time Super Bowl champion in the last 3 years. So I don't see them slowing down. And I know that we just got off of the Chiefs possibly three-peating. This may be a bold statement. They may be the first team to ever do it. I think. I mean, look at what they did to the Washington Commanders, who, I mean, the Commanders were basically beating the hell out of everybody. I mean, Commanders, that's another way you could probably reinvigorate your team, is just get a good GM and get a damn good head coach, and really everything else can just, and they have like what, $90 million in cap space. So this may be a little bit brash, but I think that the Eagles are not going anywhere.
Okay. Look, I hate having to give props to the Philadelphia Eagles as a Giants fan myself. But first and foremost, Howie Roseman, just built that man a statue in Philadelphia right next to Rocky. Because this man, who we think plays Madden when he comes to like picking up players and evaluating talent, plays this like it's dynasty mode, like it's franchise mode. He knows the moves to make, and he has an eye for talent. Like you said, Jordan Mailata, 7th round pick. Bond.
Josh Sweat. Josh Sweat was a 4th round pick.
Josh Sweat. I'm still stuck on the linebacker. Like, to come as a special teamer from New Orleans.
Bryce Huff didn't even play.
No, and got a ring.
And
got a ring.
No, what I'm saying is, they had him in the Wakes. This is scary. This might be one of the best teams. And I'm a Patriots fan. 2007, I still say that that's the greatest roster ever. But this team right now may rival that. That's how. And I'm just putting bias aside. This team is stacked.
Yes, but look, I'm going back to the whole talent evaluation. Zach Bond not only was a special teams player with the New Orleans Saints, he was a defensive lineman. He was a defensive end. He was a pass rusher. Philadelphia picks him up and says, you know what? We're going to put you at middle linebacker. And all he does is become one of the top 5 players in terms of tackles. And picks off Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl.
He was the best linebacker in football. He was the best linebacker. And here's I just got the Carson Wentz trade that went down? Do you want to know what they got out of that, right? They got A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Jalen Carter, Kyron Johnson, and a 2nd round pick. Out of those picks.
When I tell you, this man knows how to do it. Build him a statue. I'm going from the top down. So that's all the way up top, GM. Head coach, Nick Sirianni. I already gave you your props, but kudos to that man for keeping that locker room together. Because there were some moments, especially with the whole Sirianni, AJ Brown, or Sirianni and his head of security getting banned, things like that. Some things like that can destroy a locker room. And he still finds a way to keep them together and keep them winning. Now, to the players, Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley. Now, I can hate these two as a Giants fan, but as men and as NFL players, these are two people that should be the faces of the league because they don't cause drama. They're very much team first, and they have the shared goal of wanting to win. And when you have the absolute 2 leaders of your locker room with those kinds of focuses, you should be winning games. Jalen Hurts, for all the BS that he has been through in his football career, getting benched in the national championship in college, losing the Super Bowl 2 years ago, to now getting this point where he finally has his championship. Saquon Barkley, coming from the Giants, leaves the Giants, causes this whole thing not only because of him, but also because of Giants front office, going as far as to have it televised on Hard Knocks, to now having him have probably one of the best seasons I've ever seen from a running back.
He broke Terrell Davis's rushing season record. I know there may be a little bit of an asterisk because it was in a certain amount of games, but regardless, it's pretty special. But when you go and look at Jalen Hurts, he was the first quarterback in NFL history to throw for over 200 yards, rush for 70 yards, throw for multiple touchdowns, rush for touchdowns, complete 75% of his passes, average 10 yards per attempt, and then win the game. Like I said, and I know I'm kind of cutting you off, he outperformed Patrick Mahomes not once,
yes, he did.
Twice. Look at this. Just listen to this. 525 yards to 439. Just pick the higher and lower, and you know who's higher. 142 yards to 69 yards. 7 touchdowns to 6 touchdowns. 2 turnovers to 3 turnovers, and both a win apiece.
Yeah.
Do you know in 10 seasons, and this is going all the way back to college, he has had 9 different offensive coordinators?
Yes, and he's about to get his 10th.
And in the NFL, in his 5 seasons, has had 4 different coordinators, different offensive coordinators. Jalen Hurts at 26 years old, and this is like one of the best winning percentages ever so far. 46-20 in the regular season, 6-3 in the playoffs, 2 Pro Bowls, one second team All Pro, 2 NFC championships, 1 Super Bowl MVP, 1 Super Bowl. I'm gonna tell you, this kid, I don't know if he'll be an all-time great, but this is probably one of the best underdog stories that you could ever come across. Yeah, here's the winning percentages. This is the first 75 starts. Brady has the highest, tied with Mahomes, which is debatable because we already saw this year. Big Ben is number 3. Russell Wilson's number 4. Lamar Jackson's 5, and Jalen Hurts is 6.
I'm telling you, this is going to be a hell of a story. This is going to be something that Netflix documentaries are going to be made out of. But let me continue giving my props to Philadelphia so I could just get this out of the way and never have to do this again. That defense, that defensive line, that pass rush, no offense, Rob, reminded me of 2007 and 2011 with the Giants. Because
it's better.
Listen, you can say it's better. I'm saying that it reminds me of it. Because the one thing I remember about that Super Bowl, because I was a kid for both of them, is the fact that the pass rush got home when it needed to, and it got home with only 4 people. What the Philadelphia Eagles did was finally expose the offensive line flaws in the Kansas City Chiefs. Because all they had to do was rush 4, and they got home numerous times. Josh Sweat, they should really make an MVP award for defensive players in the Super Bowl, because he deserved that one. Jalen Carter deserves all the praise that he's getting for what he did up the middle. And the back end of that defense, Cooper DeJean getting a touchdown in the Super Bowl on his birthday and getting a ring on his birthday, ain't nobody had a better year than him. At least, life-wise.
And we have to really go and kind of give props to this guy that's been in the NFL, being at the defensive level and maybe at the head coaching level. Vic Fangio, 38 years in the NFL, finally won a Super Bowl. Really, props off to you, man. But when you go look at this roster, man, Milton Williams, who I believe had 2 sacks in the game, he only played 50% of the snaps. He never played over 50% of the snaps this year. And then you go look at their dead cap. This goes to show you, teams, if you have a good roster, spending money shouldn't be an issue. When you go look at the top 8 teams in dead cap, Philadelphia is number 8. 5 out of the 8 teams that made the postseason this season that had the most dead cap. You spend the money, people. There's no reason to harbor them. I'm talking to you, Patriots, but that's besides the point.
Listen, I'm talking to you too, Giants, because you spend money on dead cap, and we're still bottom of the barrel, picking 3rd this year.
You're actually the 2nd most spent dead cap this prior season, 79.57 million.
And we're the third worst team in the NFL. So it's not just about spending it, it's about spending it on talent and knowing how to use said talent. But, Rob, do you have anything else that you want to say about the Patriots before we flip this script to the team that we really want to bash?
You mean the Eagles? No, I really just hats off to them. I really think a dynasty is born. This may be me getting a little ahead of myself, but like, man, this team's scary. I wonder what book AJ Brown's gonna be reading on the sideline next year.
I want to know what book he was reading during the Super Bowl.
That's hilarious, bro.
Like,
that guy.
The second quarter, the man's just here like this. I'm about to give him a copy of one of my books. Sheesh. All right. Now, with every Super Bowl, there's a team that gets the confetti. There's a team that gets the praise. There's a team that gets to hoist the Lombardi trophy. And then there's the team that does not. And in the last 2 years, we've had to see red and yellow confetti for the Kansas City Chiefs. And for the first time in 3 years, they got to see another team's confetti drop. Rob, there's a lot of things that went wrong for the Chiefs in this game, and we can go through that whole list. We could talk about the fact that Steve Spagnuolo, as great as a defensive coordinator he is, did not have an answer for Philadelphia's offense. We could talk about the Kansas City Chiefs offensive line finally being exposed for how bad that line is. And we can talk about the
it's not a bad O-line. I don't want to hear that excuse.
Excuse me?
No, it's not. It's the second most expensive O-line in the NFL. They were ranked second in the NFL. I don't want to hear it. We're not giving them that
injuries, but that O-line got exposed.
I agree, but I'm not saying let's not go and try to give them any haters a trump card.
Okay, I'll let you have that one. I say when you go in there, and the fact that you had to have your guard play left tackle because of injuries, you was bound to have this at some point. At some point, when your other tackle is known for going off the ball early and only rarely gets calls for that, you were bound to get exposed at some point. The only thing I will say, also, Patrick Mahomes probably had the worst playoff game of his career. I don't think it's going to repeat, but I don't think it's going to repeat, honestly. I don't think he will ever have another game this terrible. Go ahead. I know you got something to say about that.
I respectfully disagree, because when you go look at the worst QBRs ever in Super Bowl history, his name is up there with like a lot of them. This was the LeBron versus the Mavs. This was Peyton Manning versus Seahawks. This was the 2000 Ravens versus your New York Giants. I apologize. And I'll take a shot at myself. This was the 1985 Bears versus the Patriots. Do you have any comparisons what this game reminded you of?
I mean, if you want to go movie references, we can go Average Joe's versus Global Gym back in the dodgeball days. You can go Bad News Bears games. You can go anywhere where they were supposed to be this David on this team, David versus Goliath. David being this big old thing that everybody expected to win. And Goliath just said, well, I'm going to hit you one time with the slingshot and that's it. Punch you in the mouth. That is literally the equivalent of a child going to middle school, seeing the big bad bully that's pushing everybody around and saying, I'm just going to slap you around one time. And then that's it.
Did you see Jamar Chase where he posted on, I think, his story where basically the kid that's sitting with his legs behind his head, behind his back, and he's recording and he's on the grass. It's a meme, and then the other kid's just doing this, ready to beat the hell out of the other guy. Well, it's basically the Eagles and the Chiefs were on the bottom, and then the Bengals were in the background recording. But here's another one: the Bucks versus the Chiefs. Yeah. That's just a precursor to what's going to unfold. But that's another one.
Broncos versus Panthers in that Super Bowl.
There you go.
Go ahead.
All right. So going into this game, Mahomes. I mean, like, look, everybody regarded him, and people were already bestowing him. We got the Nick Wrights, you got the Colin Cowherd, Shannon Sharps, Stephen A. Smith. I mean, the guy literally came to the game in a Kelly Green in a Kelly green suit. I mean, I guess you should wear the Kelly green suit because you're basically throwing to the other team anyways. Look, this team lacks humility. They don't have any sort of humility. Whether it was Kelsey and Mahomes, they were basically taunting everyone. I mean, at last year's Super Bowl parade, Mahomes, maybe a drunk idiot that he is, he basically said, "We're going in for the three-peat. Don't forget it. Don't get it twisted. We're doing it 3 times. First time in NFL history. We're doing it." I mean, do you remember even at one of the Super Bowls when Chris Jones went up to Roger Goodell and he hugged him and he told him, "I'm sorry for hitting the quarterback too hard." He's like, "Yo, you can do whatever you want." This was the NFL fans, the NFL, I guess, prior coaches, prior players, current players. They spoke up, and lo and behold, not only that, Taylor Swift was only shown for 7 seconds during this game.
Thank God. Even my girlfriend was commenting about that.
And then Travis Kelce, boo-hoo. I think he was affected by that, I guess, whatever. But we need to stop with this whole GOAT debate and making it a foregone conclusion that Patrick Mahomes was already better than Brady. I think that really was the single stupidest argument anybody could make. At the halftime, when they were down 24-0, everybody was like, "Yeah, here you go. Have your Brady moment. Have your Brady moment," right? What happened when they panned to the sideline? All I saw was a team that was dejected. You want to talk about maybe Patrick Mahomes is definitely more talented than Brady. That's very arguable because I think that maybe when it comes to like the mobility with your legs, I'll give you that. But arm talent, Brady was one of the best. One of the best and had a rocket arm. Don't let nobody fool you. He had one of the fastest throws in NFL history. I believe it's like 4th. I think Joe Milton and I forget whoever else is above him. To compare these two guys, the sideline looked dejected. In the 28-3 Super Bowl, Brady was going up and down the sidelines. Stay laser focused. Got to lock in. Laser focused, right? Everybody's seen this clip probably 100 times on NFL films. What was Patrick Mahomes doing? You were supposed to be the leader. You were pre-coordinating yourself as being the GOAT, right? Everybody and their mother. What do we call it? Nick Wright was calling it Mahomes Mountain. He put Jalen Hurts literally at the bottom as far as the tiers of Mahomes Mountain. So if Jalen Hurts is at the bottom of Mahomes Mountain and he beat your guy by 34, I don't want to hear about how you scored 22 points in this game.
To me, this was like 40-3 still.
And here's my thing. I'm going to go back to the whole like offensive line. Everybody blaming the offensive line. They had 3.24 seconds to throw. He had 3.24 seconds to throw the football. Do you want to know what's the average time to throw a football? It's 2.5 seconds. This is not on Andy. I get it. Like maybe game plan they could, but one thing I think Brady brought up. The reason why I think Patrick Mahomes, and he even said this coming to the league, he didn't know how to read defenses. I still think he doesn't because that's why he leads the NFL and where he's close to the top in interceptions. Look, man, if he doesn't run into Jimmy Garoppolo, Brock Purdy, and early Jalen Hurts, he's 0-5 in the Super Bowl. I'm sorry, man. And you go look at his Super Bowl stats, they're putrid. I think it was last year was the only game where he got above his interceptions. He is dog shit in the Super Bowl.
Listen, I'd rather have dog shit in the Super Bowl than what I got now, but I will give you that one. But I will push back again on that whole offensive line because, yes, he did have average 3.27 seconds. A lot of that was because he was extending plays by running around for his dear life because I seen members of his offensive line get pushed back 5 yards. Some of them got put on their asses. And that's all I pay attention to in football games because I know how important the trenches are. Once I saw the amount of push that Philly defensive line was getting, I knew it was going to be a problem. I see the Philadelphia Eagles twice a year. I know once they get going with that pass rush, there is little you can do because they will not let you throw it deep. Why? Because they know they can get home with 4 people so they can drop 7 back. And that's all they were doing. Patrick Mahomes got lucky with one throw to Xavier Worthy, that deep pass that went for a touchdown that pretty much was in garbage time. But the way that Eagles defense is run, and if they could keep doing that, one, you got to make sure that you have depth in that pass rush because the season's long, people get injured, and there's already talks about another game in the regular season, possibly in the future. So if you keep retooling that defensive line to where you have young, unknown talent that's not playing 50% of the snaps and they are still producing when they get the call, this Eagles defense is going to go far. They are going to be regarded as a top defense probably this decade. Going into Kansas City, when you're facing that, yeah, you need to have a game plan where you have to make quick decisions. Having 3.27 seconds is great if you can actually push the ball. They could not. And it doesn't help when your star quarterback is running into defensive players because I've seen 2 or 3 times he tried to
look like a
into the
fucking rookie out there.
He
like
did.
A rookie out there. He had 33 passing yards in the first half. 33 passing yards in the first half. They are comparing him to Tom. Oh my God! The point. I'm going to start getting fucking heated because this shit pisses me off. In all 3 of Brady's Super Bowl losses, this is how this comparison goes down. In all 3 of Brady's Super Bowl losses, he has thrown for 349 fucking yards, 6 touchdowns, 1 interception, and a 96 quarterback rating. In all 3 of those Super Bowl fucking losses, all 3 of them have been a point differential. In totality of 15 points. You want to know what this choke artist is freaking his Super Bowl losses in 2 Super Bowl losses, 263 yards. That's pretty impressive. I'll give you that. But that's pretty freaking. That might be a little bit rash because we've seen what he did at the end of this game. Should have lost 40-6. I'm sorry. You stat padding at the end of the game makes you an a-hole. I'm sorry. It really does. 263 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. You have a 69.3 pass quarterback rating. Nice. Real nice. That's the only thing that's nice about it. And a negative 40 point differential, which, by the way, I already referenced. It should have been negative 56.
Uh-huh.
How the hell are people comparing him to Tom Brady? 28-3. Literally, there was a 99.97 chance the Falcons would have won that game. This guy had a chance coming out of the half to get something going. Throws an interception. He was 6 for 14 in the first half for 33 yards. In all 10 of Brady's Super Bowls. That means in fourth quarter or overtime where he's walked off the field. His team had the lead. Every single one of them. And Patrick Mahomes. 5 Super Bowls. He has 10 passing touchdowns. And 7 interceptions. Really, I could go and take away those touchdowns and you have 7 interceptions and 7 touchdowns. But I'll give it to you because you know what? Stat Patty. Keep padding those stats because you want to save wherever dignity. Because people are going to go back and look on this and be like, oh, he didn't do that bad. Without referencing the other 3.5 fucking quarters. But I'll go and let's go back to Tom Brady. Tom Brady in 10 Super Bowls. 10! Has 21 touchdowns and less interceptions than you did in 5. Look, man. It's Brady's brains versus Mahomes' legs. And Brady already referenced this in the offseason. I think quarterbacking has gone backwards a little bit. He probably is referring to you, Mahomes. I don't think it's improved yet because every fucking year you have regressed. I don't think teaching is improved. I'm not going to take a shot at Andy Reid because, by the way, Andy Reid, before Patrick Mahomes, here's another one, made 4 straight NFC championships. Made the Super Bowl with Donovan McNabb. But I'm going to get back to my point, and now I'll get back to that point. I think maybe the physical fundamentals be a little bit more improved because there's better information out there for quarterbacking to study mechanics, but I don't think quarterbacks really are field generals anymore, basically. So, I'm paraphrasing that last sentence I just said. Mahomes has not mastered being able to stay in the pocket and manipulate an O-line, and he plays backyard football, man. Him and Travis Kelce have already said that shit got shut down. You can't improv anymore. The Eagles were preparing for Travis Kelce before this game. You don't have – so what happens? People want to talk about, oh, look what Mahomes has done in his first 5 years, for 7 years, made 5 Super Bowls. That's really impressive. I am not taking it away from him. It's very impressive. Almost unprecedented, almost, because Brady in his first 4 years made 3 Super Bowls, won 3 Super Bowls, and was 10-0 in the playoffs. 10-0. By the way, one of the longest win streaks ever at 21 in a row, games in a row. But going back to it, Patrick Mahomes has had a silver spoon his whole career, and I just don't get it. And I think that people I'm sorry. You could have played in the NFL. You could be a guy that studies it. I do this more than you do in terms of like reading and studying stats. Patrick Mahomes took over a team that was what, 11-5, 10-6 playoff team, right?
Yep.
And I did reference that Andy Reid made a Super Bowl before Patrick Mahomes. I'm just gonna reference that. He took over a team that had Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, 2 of the top 5 players, or at the least at the offensive position in the NFL. You want to know what Brady took over?
Go for it.
Let's just go and take a trip down memory lane. Belichick was 41-55 as a head coach. 1 playoff win. Yeah, he had his Super Bowls. As a defensive coordinator with the Giants. He was 41-55 as a head coach. 1 playoff win. Brady took over a 5-11 team. 5-11. The Patriots were the laughing stock of the NFL. The laughing stock of the NFL. Brady didn't have a Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelce, which, by the way, all Pro Bowl receivers, tight ends. Brady took over a team that was throwing to David Patton. Troy Brown, which great in his own, which, by the way, Troy Brown's only Pro Bowl season was when Brady was the first year as a starter. Which is why I say Brady didn't have a Pro Bowl or All-Pro receiver in his first 7 years. Do any of you people that are maybe watching this know that? Brady did not have a Pro Bowl or All-Pro receiver until his 7th year. He was throwing to, I hate to disrespect them, mailmen. He was. And people fail to realize this when they inflate the stats. It was a rushing league, people. It was a league where you actually could hit the quarterback. It wasn't a league where in 23 years Brady has less roughing the passers than Patrick Mahomes in 8. Did you know that, Justin?
Yep.
That he has less, because you probably follow House Call Sports, the best news outlet.
The best sports show.
Best. Okay, of course. Let me get back to it.
Also, follow his Patriots page as well for all these stats as well.
Exactly. So let's get back to it. Who did the Patriots pick up in 2007?
Was that the year they got Randy?
That was the year they got Randy. Now, people will be like, well, he got Randy Moss. That's the reason why. No. Randy Moss, the year prior, had 3 touchdowns and 500 yards. The year he went to the Patriots, he had 23 touchdowns and 1,600 yards. I don't know about you, man. I think it was that kid that won 3 out of 4 Super Bowls in his first 4 years. And here's my thing. In those 3 out of 4 Super Bowls, the Patriots were 48-7. Then Brady went on to his 3 straight Super Bowls, which people want to talk about the three-peat. Hey, listen, if Malcolm Butler isn't benched in 2017 Super Bowl against the Philadelphia Eagles, because Belichick has an ego trip, that's a three-peat. Because we couldn't stop a nosebleed. And people want to reference that Super Bowl like it's a bad thing. Here's the difference between Patrick Mahomes against the Eagles and Brady against the Eagles that year. Brady broke the damn record for the damn Super Bowl. 505 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. Let me collect myself because let me go back. Let me go to the longevity. Here's the kicker. You did great in your first 5 Super Bowl trips. Comparable, actually, to Brady's. Actually, worse. If you compare the stats in Brady's first 5 Super Bowls versus Mahomes. But here's my pitch to you, Patrick Mahomes. Good luck in the second 5 if you do get that. Brady in his second 5 Super Bowls. You're gonna listen to these stats. He dropped back 233 times, which is about equivalent to what Patrick Mahomes did, 212 in his first 5. 150 for 224, more efficient than Patrick Mahomes. 1,762 yards to Patrick Mahomes' 1,328. That means he's going to nearly have to get 400 more yards. Patrick Mahomes had 265 yards in his first 5 Super Bowls. Brady had 352 yards in his second 5 Super Bowls. 12 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. 1.8% interception to Mahomes, by the way, is double that. So you're going to have to cut down on those turnovers, buddy. 7 yards per attempt. And an EPA of 65 to 7.4. And 4 Super Bowl rings, by the way. Mahomes is going to have to evolve his game, man. He's going, and I get people want to talk about how he's 29 years old, but he has regressed since he threw those 50 touchdowns. You're not going to have a prime Tyreek Hill. You're not going to have a prime Travis Kelce. Maybe you need to start eating some avocado ice cream, for fuck's sake, man. I hate to break it to you because it works.
For the TB12 reference.
I'm going to tell you, man. 45 years old. You're not playing to 45 years old we've been hearing this every year. This guy gets nicked up.
True.
So what happens when
numerous ankle injuries, calf injuries?
So being that he is putrid in the Super Bowl, 10 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and he is just he's down in every Super Bowl by 10, every single one of them. You're not going to have a Brock Purdy, Jimmy Garoppolo, and an early Jalen Hurts anymore. What happens when you go against maybe a Jared Goff? I know it might sound laughable, but I would probably pick Jared Goff over Brock Purdy and Jimmy Garoppolo. What happens when now you have to go against a Jalen Hurts that is now way more confident in himself, if he wasn't already?
Knows he can outplay you and knows he can beat you.
He has outplayed him. We already referenced it. What happens when you're going to when that mobility, that whole the part of your game that supposedly makes you special? What happens when your mobility is not there as much and you have to basically use your IQ to diagnose a defense and you have to be a pocket passer? Here's another one. What happens when Andy Reid, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce are no longer there? I know people. Tyreek Hill hasn't been there for a while, but let's call a spade a spade. He still has Travis Kelce and Andy Reid.
I don't think he's going to have Travis for long, though.
Oh, that'll be my next point when we talk about the free agents that are coming up for the Chiefs.
Okay.
In 23 years, Brady's made 10 Super Bowls. And he's been electric in every single one of them. I get it. People want to reference early Brady, but I will go back and tell you, he went against the greatest show on turf. Outside of that first Super Bowl, He was electric in the ones after that. Really special. Can Mahomes be able to use what's between the ears? Because we've seen when he's rattled, i.e. the Bucs Super Bowl, i.e. this past Super Bowl, he's going to pout. He's not going to be a leader on the sideline. Where was your Brady moment that everybody was referencing? Where was the moment where you were elevating? He does not elevate the players on his team. How many players do you possibly need? Do I need to reference how Brady went into a Super Bowl down 25, throwing to the likes of James White, Julian Edelman? There's no slouch to these guys. But don't elevate these guys when you're not going to put them in they're not Pro Bowl players. Julian Edelman, Danny Amendola. Tell me when you come to a Pro Bowl player. James White, Chris Hogan, who by the way was a lacrosse player at one point.
Yep.
And Malcolm Mitchell was a rookie receiver. In that Super, you notice how I'm leaving one name off there, right? Mm-hmm. Who is it? It's Rob Gronkowski, right? Yep. Because he was injured. He was injured. So what happens if you go into a Super Bowl and you don't have your precious little keepsake in Travis Kelce? Hey, man, shake it off. It feels like 22, right? Because that's how many points you scored in this game, and that's how many points you lost by against the damn Bucs.
Damn. Not the Taylor reference.
And it may be 22 years before we ever hear your name ever again referenced in the GOAT debate, because I think it's done, man. You cannot have 2 Super Bowl losses to this extent and ever be. Brady has never lost this bad in a Super Bowl. They reference your Giants because that's all they ever can do. But Brady gave them the lead with 2 minutes to go. Brady gave, like I referenced there, if people have skipped that part, Brady has given his team the lead in every single one of those Super Bowl losses with 2 minutes to go. Belichick's defense collapsed. Now, this is no shot at Belichick. Belichick is the greatest defensive mind, and maybe, I say maybe now because Andy Reid is pretty fucking special. The greatest coach of all time. I still give the edge to Belichick, but Andy Reid's creeping up. Mm-hmm. What happens when you don't have these things at your disposal, when you don't have an Andy Reid? Hey, man, you tell me where I'm wrong. You tell me where I'm wrong, I can accept it. He has regressed every single year. He's middle of the pack when it comes to being a quarterback. The fact that FanDuel and all these other places put him in the MVP race was a joke.
Very much.
Should have lost to the Falcons. Should have lost to the Bengals. The Panthers game, the Raiders game. I mean, the list goes on. You should have lost to the Bills. The guy that turned over.
I was waiting for that one.
The guy that reversed the first down that Josh Allen got was not even looking from that side of the ball. He was behind him.
Yep.
And go reference the rest of the game. If I'm not just.
I mean, listen, to the ref that called that catch a catch, bullshit.
And just go reference the rest of the game. That Xavier Worthy catch. How about how many bad ball placements where literally the announcers, whether I forget who the hell the announcers were, where James Cook passed like by like a yard or two, and then they backed it up like 3 yards.
Listen, we all knew this was rigged for the Chiefs to get to the Super Bowl.
The people had spoken. That's why. Too many things have been exposed in it. The NFL had their hands tied. That's why. In 3 Super Bowls, in 3 Super Bowl wins Patrick Mahomes has and the Chiefs have, they were not flagged on the offensive line for holding once.
Yep.
Oh. And you know what? I see the Chiefs fans. I see your little content creators in your videos. I see you. Now you're complaining about the refs. That's what we had to deal for the past, 5 years?
Yeah.
And don't, like I said, don't you dare reference the Patriots. I already referenced the roughing the passer, the disparity in that. How about the N'Keal Harry touchdown that should have happened, where his foot was a good 3 inches away from the out of bounds? That should have been a touchdown. You could reference the D Ford thing. He was offsides. You've been lining, your whole offensive line has been lining up wrong all season, jumping too early all season, and now you're called. Patrick Mahomes during the Super Bowl. We didn't substitute yet. We didn't substitute. Tough shit. It's kind of funny when the plane is even. What happens? Where the game is called fairly. I'll give you that A.J. Brown pass interference. I think when he extends his arm, that's a pass interference. Yes. I'll give him that.
That's literally offensive pass interference.
Okay, I'll give him that. I'm not gonna be like everybody else and be like, ticky tack. But now when the game's called the right way, and I really hope you find some humility, Mahomes. Showing up in that Kelly Green suit. Like I said, man, you might as well have been playing for the Eagles. You had, 11 quarterback rating going into the fourth quarter? 11. Brother, I don't know how anybody can be lumped in the same conversation as Tom Brady. I'm not going to pretend like Brady didn't have a bad, first half, or basically 3.5 quarters, or 3 quarters of football against the Falcons. But, brother, it ain't how you start. It's how you finish. Which, by the way, I will reference. Brady had 179 yards in that first half. So it's not like he was, not moving the ball. He just, threw a pick six, which you should know a thing or two about Patrick Mahomes. But Brady has never had 33 yards. Hell, you had 100 yards going into that last, 5 minutes of the game. I'm sorry. I will never reference this game as a 22-point loss, even though I would love to take another Taylor Swift reference. You lost by 34 points. The Eagles pulled their starters. That has to be the biggest slap in the face. And the fact, hey, Justin, I know I'm going on a tangent, but the fact that they have to still leave that door open is crazy to me. It's baffling to me how that door is still somehow left open.
Yeah.
Unprecedented, right? Things that are unprecedented that he's done, right? Can you please tell me, hey, listen, if he would have done that, that would have been something Brady never done, and I could never take that away from him. You let me know when there's something that Mahomes did that Brady didn't do. 100,000 passing yards.
Nope.
35 playoff wins.
Nope.
Just about highest regular season wins, highest playoff wins.
Nope.
In his first 7 years, didn't have a Pro Bowl receiver or All-Pro receiver.
Definitely not.
Okay, so we're talking unprecedented, right?
Pretty much.
Led a 5-11 team to a Super Bowl in his first year as a starter.
Definitely didn't happen.
He took over a playoff team, people. I can listen, man. I hate. I'm not trying. I really am trying not to be a homer, but I mean, you had the most wins this season for the Chiefs. He was last in passing in his. This is why I'm saying that he's falling off, and I'm telling you right now, it may be done. I wrote an article on the House Call, a little quick article on a post, and I'll get to that in a second, but. In Patrick Mahomes' career, and I'm going to justify why I think he's falling off. He's last in passing yards per game, last in passing yards per attempt, last in total yards, last in passing touchdowns, and last in passer rating. I'm going to tell you right now, if he wasn't gifted so many damn wins this year, they may not have made the playoffs.
No.
That division ain't getting any easier, man. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to go back to this thing, man. Brady had three separate Hall of Fame careers. Two of which in those Hall of Fame careers he had three titles. Just think about this. Just think about this. He has 26,000 yards in his first 2001 and 2007. and he had 3 titles, 86 wins. More, and these things are more than Roger Staubach, more than Joe Namath in touchdowns, more than Bobby Grease in yards, and that's just his first 6 years, and more than John Elway in titles. Then let's go to the second. Only 1 title, whatever. I get that. That's more than Dan Marino, by the way. 73 wins, which is more than Kurt Warner. 195 touchdowns, which was more than Ken Stabler. 26,812 yards. That's more than Bart Starr. Now we're going to talk about basically getting into his 38 to 45 range. 83 wins, more than Otto Graham. 232 touchdowns, more than Troy Aikman. 31,262 yards, more than Terry Bradshaw. 3 titles, more than Peyton Manning. He had 3 separate Hall of Fame careers. You are seriously going to tell me that this kid is going to be able to replicate that?
I doubt it highly.
He has averaged, 260 yards, I said, in the Super Bowl? Brady, I just told you, man, in his 5 Super Bowls after that, 349 yards. Never a deficit. I'll let you go and make your points. I'm going to get to the free agency in a minute.
All right, no, you touched on everything. That's why, listen, this is how I feel about the whole GOAT debate, period. There's room. There's only going to be one GOAT in every sport. NBA has it with Jordan. NFL has it with Brady. NHL has it with... because I'm thinking Ovechkin's about to pass him soon. But
Wayne Gretzky.
There we go, Gretzky.
That's never been touched, man.
I know.
That's basically what Brady has as far as passing yards and stuff like that. These records are never going to be touched.
Very true. Baseball, I don't even know who you would consider as a GOAT because there's just so many great players in the MLB history. But what I will say, there's always going to be that person that's going to chase the GOAT. And in the NFL, currently it is Mahomes. Everybody can have their opinions. I think Mahomes is talented. But when it does matter the most, I have seen, especially in the last 2 years, his play fall off.
I hate to break it to you, man. He's number 3 in all time now for me. You cannot realistically put him over Joe Montana. Look, regular season is nice.
Oh no, I wasn't gonna have him number 2 right now.
He's number 3 to me, and even that's arguable. And I don't call me a hater. Joe Montana had 11 touchdowns and 0 interceptions, was 4-0 in the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. This guy is now 3-2, and 10 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. And listen, I don't give a shit what you do in the regular season. You don't get a special medal. Hey, listen, I hate Lamar Jackson. I'm not taking a shot at you, but this is it's just how it is. You can have an MVP in the regular season, Josh Allen, and just do nothing in the playoffs.
Yeah. No, I wasn't referencing to Mahomes' status as the second greatest player all time. I was saying every generation has that one player that is constantly chasing the GOAT. And in this generation in the NFL, it is Patrick Mahomes. That's where I'm going with that. But I am intrigued to see what your thoughts are with this impending free agency. Because we're going to be talking about all of that during the offseason. But I want to hear your thoughts on it now.
So this is why I think that the window's closed. They have $11 million in cap space, 11.5 exactly. They have free agents like Nick Bolton, special player, one of the best linebackers in football. DeAndre Hopkins, I guess you could probably get away. Justin Watson, who's been a safety blanket here and there. Justin Reed, I mean, that'd be a big loss too. Kareem Hunt, here's a big one. Trey Smith, which, by the way, did not allow a sack all season. On top of that, the Chiefs are using 63% of their cap on 5 players. Chris Jones. Wait, no, let's start with Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes, which annual value is $66.3 million. Chris Jones, $34.9. Jawan Taylor, $27.4. Joe Tooney, $27 million. And Mr. Shake It Off, Travis Kelce. 19.8. That is $175 million tied up in 5 players. Tough decisions are coming, Casey. Tough decisions are coming.
I'll tell you 2 easy ones.
Travis Kelce
Kelsey's going to retire. I feel like
they better hope.
I feel like he makes way more outside of football. He does not need to risk his. I understood coming back this year for the chance of a three-peat. After that, it's like, what else do you got to play for? You have your rings, you have your money, you're making more money off the field with everything you got going on. So that's done. Jawan Taylor, who was the offensive lineman I was referring to with constantly lining up wrong and jumping early, get rid of him. Like, find a way.
Good luck with that. Good luck with that.
Nobody's going to take that contract.
That's ridiculous.
I think you do need to do whatever it takes to keep Nick Bolton, but it's not going to happen.
They don't have the money, man. I hate Patrick, but Patrick Mahomes is going to have to take. Listen, Patrick Mahomes, if you want to chase Tom Brady, do what he did his whole career.
Never became the top paid.
Yeah, take a pay cut. Hate to break it to you, bud. That's how you're going to chase him. And you're never getting there. By the way, I'm sorry. That door's closed. But if you want to make it to where you at least can all have an argument with Joe Montana, because now it's just the argument is just 2-4. Like where does he fall? 2-4. The window's shut. I'm sorry. You lose by those margins, and your Super Bowl resume is dog shit. But going back to Travis Kelce. It goes to show you, man. If he doesn't have a safety blanket, they're not playing backyard football, and all that scrambling that he does. What makes people think somehow his interceptions are going to go down? He's going to become a cleaner. Do you know that since he was drafted, he has been top 5 in throws from at or behind the line of scrimmage? People made fun of Brady about being Mr. Checkdown, right? When he's literally doing it. This may be a bold take. You tell me if it is. I think if he was drafted by any other franchise, he doesn't have a Super Bowl ring.
Oh, no. I believe that. Everybody
has one Super Bowl ring.
The best thing everybody has said, and the most accurate thing, is that he was drafted in the perfect scenario.
Yeah, you had Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce.
You had Andy Reid. You didn't have to start your first year.
Like, who the hell was Brady throwing to? Deion Branch? Super Bowl MVP. Deion Branch, Troy Brown, David Patton. Like, what? People want to reference all these guys. Like, oh, he had Gronk. Oh, he had Mike Evans. He didn't get those guys until after year 7.
Yeah, no, he didn't get those guys until year 7. I remember because all the first 6 years before Randy Moss came onto the team, I was like, wait, who is he throwing to? I don't recognize none of these names. Granted, I was a child. So back then it was like, I only knew like the big names. So when Randy Moss got there, I was like, uh-oh, this might be scary. And it was scary for a while. That whole season, Brady and Randy was tearing things up. When Gronk was there, Brady and Gronk was tearing things up.
And the biggest thing is, if not for hey, listen, I thought Eli they should have blown the whistle when he was wrapped up. I'm sorry, I'll call it out. I see it, but I'll give you the Super Bowl, whatever. In 2011, when we went against y'all, 2007, that was literally David versus Goliath. Props to y'all Giants fans. You deserve it. You deserve it because look at how cocky we were. We didn't deserve it. We honestly, if we would not been cocky, would have won that game. Probably would have blown the doors off you guys. That's not the point. 2011. I hate to cut you off. I'm sorry, but I'm going to lose my train of thought. Brady. Here's something else also unprecedented. Brady brought one of the worst historical defenses to the Super Bowl that year. It was the Saints and the Patriots. They were so bad that Edelman was lining up at corner at times. They were so fucking bad. Terrible. They were giving up like 350 yards passing per game. It was bad.
You know how bad you got to be to have a current wide receiver and former quarterback as cornerback sometimes?
I'll let you finish your point. I just really don't get it, man. I don't.
No, but all this to say, yes, I do agree with you on this one thing. The GOAT debate is over. It's dead. I'm sorry. There is no more catching the ghost of Tom Brady at this point.
And to the point that, like, even if he wins 10 Super Bowl rings, I still think those 2 Super Bowl losses and just his resume of his first 5 Super Bowls is so bad that you cannot elevate him above Brady ever. No. It's done.
No, the one thing about Brady is, and you've been bringing it up this whole time, he elevates the talent around him. He takes teams that are not good and makes them great. That's really the reason why Brady's the GOAT. As a quarterback, if you are elevating the team around you to be better. And that's something we don't really have in this league now.
How old is Mahomes? 1 second. I thought I seen he was 29. 29. Let me just see. Is he going to turn 30 to start the season?
That I'm not sure of.
Okay. September. Yes, he's going to be 30 to start the season. Can we stop pretending like once those legs start to fall under him and he can't quite move like he used to? Like, I'm sorry, man. Like, you cannot say that he's going to somehow. We have the tape, bro. We have the numbers that back my argument. He's not going to get better. Brady got better in his 40s. At year 18, where I believe he was, 39? Mm-hmm. MVP. At 43. While Mahomes was in the NFL and during his prime, Brady led the league in passing. To say that he's going to do these things is a slap. I'm sorry, man. This is what I got on. This is why I've posted so many things. It's not so much that I'm trying to be a hater. It's not so much that I'm trying to just discredit Brady. I just was Mahomes. I'm just tired of hearing the early coronation. Ryan Clark. Oh, it's pretty funny that a Steelers freaking player is trying to early coronation of another player because you got your ass beat by Brady for so many years. Yeah. Nick Wright. Oh, the door's still open. Kind of funny, right? Mahomes Mountain. He lost to the guy that was on the bottom. That this is your words, not mine. He said that the game was gonna make a legacy out of like these Eagles players. It was a foregone conclusion that Mahomes and the Chiefs were gonna three-peat. I've got news for you guys. This may be your last Super Bowl. This may be your last. I say you make it to one more. But that might be when Mahomes is like 34. You can clip this. I hit on a lot of my fucking predictions. Mahomes may not make the playoffs next year because you squeaked by the Panthers, the Raiders. The Broncos, by the way, in your division are coming. You should have lost that game if not for a blocked field goal. And also in your division, Jim Harbaugh, wherever he goes, man, he wins. If Justin Herbert can somehow stop being a choke artist and he figures it out and really turns into what we all thought Justin Herbert can be, you're in trouble. You're in deep trouble. That's also another game you could have lost. Against the Ravens, if not for a toe tap by Isaiah Likely, you lose that game. If he should have worn white cleats. Mahomes. How about that Bengals game, that pass interference? Come on. How about the Falcons game where it was basically the same thing and they didn't call pass interference? You see, I'm not trying to be a hater, but I'm just showing you that there's a lot of chinks in your armor. The once impenetrable shield of Chiefs Kingdom? Well, the fat lady has sang, and Kingdom Come.
And with that being said, we need to get out of here. Now, before we do, gotta let you guys know, just because the NFL season is over does not mean your boys here at House Call Sports are gonna disappear, because we're gonna hit you with all the off-season content you can have. We got you with draft recaps. We're gonna be looking at some of the prospects for the draft. We're gonna do free agency. We're gonna do trade rumors. We're gonna hit you with everything all off-season long. So do us a favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that follow button. Go check out Vivid Seats for all of your ticketing needs. It'll help support us, but it'll also save you some money. Until then, this is Justin. Rob is here. Your favorite NFL people is out for this episode. Peace.
Let's go.